eCom Q4 Summit, and it is time for the Retail Arbitrage and Online Arbitrage live panel discussion. So, what we invite you to do is we invite you to type your questions in the comment. Tonight, one of our panelists is joining us as a speaker that's in the summit, Miss Becky Tim. Somehow we lost Becky. So, let me put her back.
Hey, I'm here.
There she is. And so we may have additional speakers that drop on or come on at the same time. So know that, this is going to be an amazing Q&A. So this is how it works. You type your questions in the comments and we will answer them. We have another speaker. Hold on. I see them in the background. All right. So we have Renata with us. Hey, Miss Renata. All right, so let me change the display somehow. I don't know if we're going to have a fourth one because JR said he was coming. So I'll put it for 3 right now, and if JR comes, we'll change it. So we have with us our panelists, Ms. Becky Timms, who is known for a private label, but Becky dabbles in a little bit of everything. And then, so she knows a little bit about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, of course, a little bit of drop shipping, definitely private label. So if you have questions, and yesterday was sourcing, you can ask your questions on sourcing. You can ask your questions on private label, white label. If you want to ask a question about wholesale or drop shipping, you can ask that today. And then we have Miss Renata Darden, the side hustle chick extraordinaire. She's also my business partner. And she is here. I love the hair, loving the hair. My hair does not look like your hair. My hair does not look like hers. So anyway, it is what it is. And she is here. She does a little bit of everything as well.
I'm a dabbler.
Yeah, she's definitely a dabbler. And so we are here to answer your questions about retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. We may have a fourth panelist. It may be JR. I'm not really sure. But again, we're here to answer your questions. So this is your opportunity. If you participated in the summit, you can go and click on the link to the eCom Seller Summit fan page, and you can type questions in the comments underneath this video, and then we will see them. I will also look them up on my phone just to make sure we don't miss any questions. But in any case, we'll talk until you all type your questions. So today's panel, on today's session, we had Michal Chapnik, who talked about Walmart. So you can definitely go back and watch her session. And then we had, I think, what's his name? Horace wanted to be on tonight's. Then we have, today we had Horace Lyons, who was after Michal. Then we had Megala and also Gracie Ryback. And in addition to that, we loaded up 2 additional videos so that you can begin planning for the rest of your Q4. So again, if you have any questions, type them in the comments. We are here to answer them. You have Becky Timms, you have Renata Darden, and you have myself. I don't look as good as they do. They look fabulous. So, but we're here to answer your questions. You know, I am, what do you say? A full-time entrepreneur and full-time mom. So I'm in here dealing with kids, making sure kids get fed just before I do this live. And I have no idea what Becky and Renata were up to. So what were you all up to just before we jumped on here?
So what I was up to is tomorrow, the cleaning lady comes to my house, and my husband, Big Papa, is like, hey, you have to clean before they clean. So I am so glad I'm here, so I don't have to clean. No, seriously, I have a little pile of junk that I have to go and put up before the cleaning ladies come tomorrow. So that's what I was doing.
I know all about that.
He said, I got to
get everything out of the cleaning lady's way.
Clean before the clean.
Yeah, which is really funny, and I'd like to touch on that a bit, if I can, Nicole, because
Go ahead.
8 years ago when I started selling on Amazon, for those of you that don't know me and know my story, I'm still a part-time 7-figure Amazon seller. I work a full-time career that I absolutely love. I've been in the industry for this month will be 26 years in my industry, and I absolutely love it. So I still I supervise chemists for a living, and I still do that. So I'm a math and science nerd. But 8 years ago, when I started selling on Amazon, I was juggling a full-time career. I had two little boys. They were 8 and 10 years old. And so they had football, baseball, really, really active in sports. I have my amazing husband, Big Papa. I don't cook, so we were eating out a lot, but my house was trashed. I'm talking about trash. My husband worked 24 hours as a firefighter. So he worked 24 hours on and 48 hours off. So that 24 hours when he was working and I was juggling all of that and home by myself with the two boys, my house was really trashed because I was trying to learn e-commerce too. So maybe you're just starting out and you're trying to learn e-commerce and you're like, how can I do all of this? Let me tell you, it's okay. I'll give you permission right now if your house is trashed. But at one point, my husband looked at me and he said, Becky, are you going to get up from the computer and clean this house? And I looked him square in the eyes like I'm looking at you. And I said, no. I said, there are people that are making $10,000 a month with e-commerce. And if they can do it, I can do it too. And now guess what, guys? We pay someone every week to fold our toilet paper like a rose and clean our house. So be firm. Yes, you will have to clean some, but don't be a perfectionist. And you don't have to eat off your floors every night if that's you. Just be sure to do some give and take. And yeah, it works if you work it.
Absolutely.
Perfect
So
example of it will pay off.
It will.
Yes, that's basically what I was saying. It will if you don't quit.
If you don't quit, that's the key.
It's a roller coaster. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it was all fun and roses to 7 figures. No. It's not. But it's worth it.
It is worth it. Mm-hmm. So Pauline Prince joined us, but she doesn't have her camera on and she doesn't have her mic on. So I think she's going to work. Oh, we hear you. Speak up.
Yeah, I muted myself because the 5-year-old is in the background, and I can't escape her.
She's got you cornered.
She's got you cornered.
Yeah, there's no escape. I've tried.
That is so funny. All right. So those who are watching, one, I would like for you to share this out. Let somebody else know about this live Q&A panel. Two, I want you to type your questions in the comments. What questions do you have about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage? What questions do you have about e-commerce? It doesn't matter at this point. You have people that have a lot of knowledge, and especially like now we've got Pauline who's in Canada. So jump on, type in your questions in the comments so that we can answer those questions for you. So we have a question from someone that says, could you comment on scaling up sales from a side hustle to replacing your 9-to-5? Ooh, I love that question. So that comes to us from Vincent, and he says, can you comment on scaling up your sales from a side hustle to replacing your 9-to-5? I love it. I love it. I love it. So
I would definitely like to chime in on that.
Go ahead, Pauline. So let's start with you.
And my apologies if you hear a cartoon in the background. It is what it is, right? Now, hands down, the key to scaling your business to the level where you're replacing your 9-to-5, you need help. You cannot do it by yourself. You think you're going to sit and label everything yourself and prep it all and ship it in and deal with UPS and figure everything out and do your own listings and do the whole gamut with a full-time job. You will scale to a degree, but I'm sure others on this panel will tell you if it's their 10-year-old, it's the neighbor up the street, it's the college student, all the way to the point where you're utilizing a prep center. You need help. I'm so sorry. Because one of the most important things is to delegate the heavy lifting, the grunt work. You, as the retailer, should be focusing your time and energy in the early stages of your scaling as much as possible to the revenue generating activities. And those activities are sourcing. So you are pinpointing the products where the opportunity lies for you to profit at an acceptable percentage. Whatever marketplace you're selling on, the money is made when you make the sourcing decision. It's not when the product sells, because if you're sourcing correctly, the sale is a done deal. It's inevitable because you're making decisions about the product. You know the product sells. You know the frequency, by and large, of the sales. And so now at this point, she's having to sing, of course, because I'm talking. So because you know the product sells, the most important thing is to focus on finding products that your sale is pretty well guaranteed. And if you have strong profit margins on those listings, then that is a home run. But you're not the one that needs to sit down and do the heavy lifting portions of your prep and ship into Amazon. And I sound very self-serving saying that because I am the founder and owner of a prep center in Canada, 2 locations. But it is hands down the truth. That is the way that you scale your business, at least the beginning stages of it. So no longer is it on your mind and you're worrying about how's your stuff getting to Amazon. That's not your worry. Your worry and your focus will be on building out your basket of goods. What products are you going to offer into the marketplace that are replenishable? You have supply sources. You're consistently looking for new supply sources. You are looking at testing products, and when you see how the market reacts to it, you're scaling and increasing the quantities that you're sending in this case to Amazon FBA. You're monitoring that sales activity. So you are becoming an expert in your product area. If you're not specializing in a product area, you either way are getting to know the markets that you're selling in very well. You become an expert because you are focused on that, not on lifting boxes yourself, if you can at all avoid it.
All right. Well, thank you, Pauline. For those who don't know, Pauline Prince, Canada Prep and Fulfillment. I think she is on day 4. So make sure you check out her session. Becky and Renata are both on day 3, I think. So, which is tomorrow. So either one of you want to chime in, and I will add my 2 cents worth at the end. Go ahead, Renata.
Well, I'll just add one thing. Pauline covered a wealth of information just in that short spiel that she talked about. But one of the things that she said that I'll just chime in on is incrementally. So when you talk about scaling, it's very important not to get overwhelmed. You set your goals. You want to make sure that you know exactly what you need. So the numbers are going to be very important. What you need to be able to come home from your 9 to 5, because you don't want to get overwhelmed. And if you have other people in your life, a spouse or children or whomever that's depending on you, you don't want them to get overwhelmed with the work that you're doing and feel like, you're not doing enough or you're doing too much in terms of spending. And so one of the things that we talk about a lot in eCom sellers is that you want to know your numbers. You want to make sure that you know what your goal is, but you also want to do that incrementally. So we always recommend that you keep back as much of your profit as you can and reinvest that in your business. That's one of the things that people early on fail to do. You see some money coming in and you think, hey, that's play money. And if you want to treat this as a hobby, then yeah, that's going to be play money. You can go, play with it some more and find a few more items that you want to test the waters with. But if you're going to treat this as a business, you want to be reinvesting your profits as much as possible into your business. So like I said, everything that Pauline said, plus that little bit, you just want to be reinvesting. You want to do it incrementally, and you want to be doing it toward a specific goal.
Mm-hmm. So Ms. Becky?
Yes. So how do you scale? So I still have a full-time career, but I'm going to tell you what I did. First of all, if you're not using Amazon and FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, you need to use that, because my story, my 8 and 10-year-old, like Pauline said, you call all the neighbors over, right? So I called all the neighbors. They're all little boys, and they were all like, one was packing, one was putting a label on, because I came home from work one day. I was merchant fulfilling, and vitamins. And everybody wanted to know what I was selling. What are you selling? What are you selling? So my boys knew not to say what I was selling because all my e-commerce friends wanted to know what I was selling, right? And so one of their friends, there were like 5, it was a little assembly line. And one of their friends went home and told their mom, hey, Mom, we're shipping medicine, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. Bring, bring, mama's calling, right? And so I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was hair vitamins. We're all good, right? So the very next day, I turned to Amazon FBA. And so then my business became hands-free. But my thought process was, I'm not going to give Amazon 30%. I'm going to keep my 15%, just pay them 15%. And don't do that. Pay them. Of course, now if it's a meltable or something where you can make a quick profit, definitely do that from home or a third-party warehouse. But send it to FBA. And I private label, so all of my stuff goes directly to Amazon and a warehouse and Amazon. So definitely do that. And you can't do it alone. And like Pauline said, you make your money when you buy. 3 letters, B-Y, B-U-Y. When you buy is when you make your money. And like Renata said, you want to pay yourself first, profit first. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. It's over there, but I highly recommend that book. So definitely do that. I know me personally, I think that was one of the keys to my success because I had like $50,000 profit in the bank before I bought my first thing with my e-commerce profits. And I bought garage doors for my house. That was the first thing after a 50K profit, right? And then of course I've gone on and bought many, many other things since then, but I was smart with my money because I kept putting it back in the business and back in the business. And I quickly went to private label because my thought process was I'm not going to cut out all the middlemen, or I am going to cut out all the middlemen. But throughout this whole summit, you're going to learn different ways to profit more in Q4, whether it's retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, private label, whatever. There's POD, print on demand. There's so many ways to make money, and I've done them all. But I do private label really well. But I want to share, tonight we're talking about online arbitrage, right?
And so retail.
Today, and retail. Okay, let me just share what I shared today. I took a picture of it. So I made a sale on Amazon today, and I sold the item for $55.43. $55.43. The buy box for that item was $42.43. So that means that I sold my product for $13 more than the buy box. Now, how did I do that? The buy box was for merchant fulfilled. It was a lower price, and there were like 11 sellers on this listing and only 2 prime sellers. And to be a prime seller, you have to ship those items into Amazon FBA, or you can do seller fulfilled prime if you can guarantee a 2-day delivery. But because I was a prime seller, because there's millions of people that shop that check a little box that says, only show me the prime sellers. So they're not even seeing those other 9 sellers. They're just seeing me and the one other FBA seller. $13 more. So my profit on that item was like $11. I have to go look at it, $11.50 or something like that, right? And so that was an online arbitrage item. And like Pauline said, I'm all about replenishables. You want those things that you can, I know it sells, I'm going to buy some more. It's going to sell, I'm going to buy some more. But this one was a consumable. And I'm really lucky that I didn't eat my profits because I love these things, but I sent them to Amazon anyway. So I don't eat your profit. Write that down. You want to scale, don't eat your profit.
Okay? Been there as well.
Yeah.
When you're out here doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, you find some really good things, and you're tempted. You want to bring them into your own household. It's so weird, and Becky can probably attest to this, but there were so many things that I brought into the house. I had an inventory pantry, and then I had a regular household pantry. But so many things that I would scan in the store that I was, I'm bringing it home for my kids to eat. Don't you touch it.
Yep.
Don't touch those cookies. You eat these cookies, you don't eat those cookies. But we like
Yep.
those cookies. Those cookies are inventory. Those cookies are not for the household. So you do have to make some, set some ground rules. One of them being don't eat your profit. Don't eat your profit up, even if they are, items that you really enjoy. You either have to find them. What my rule was, if they got up to Amazon or if they didn't make it there yet, if I was doing merchant fulfillment, they got, so close to maybe an expiration date, then I would pull them over to the family pantry and then they were fair game. But
Yeah.
there were certain cookies in my household that my kids knew that they could not eat.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so Jelly Bellies are a really good seller, and I'm a huge Jelly Belly fan. And so when I was selling Jelly Bellies, I ate my weight in them, and not good. That's not good either. So don't eat sugar or as much sugar as Jelly Bellies, which is like 100% sugar. But yeah, really, really good.
Well, I want to chime in on this one. I think that what Pauline started off with and Renata and Becky's comments, all good information. I do think, sourcing is extremely important, but it doesn't do you any good if you don't list it. So once you source it, it has to be listed. So investing your time in good sourcing is important. Getting better at sourcing is important. Getting better at product research is extremely important. And then once you source it, making sure that you get it listed, whether you list it yourself, whether you use a listing tool, or whether you hire a VA to list it. It has to get listed in order for you to make any money. It doesn't make any money if you source it and you don't do anything with it. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to, figure out your strategy for listing. If you're going to do retail or online arbitrage, you're going to do another method. If you're not going to do retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, you're going to do a different method of e-commerce. Again, you got to know your numbers. It doesn't matter if you're doing print on demand or drop shipping or wholesale. You still got to know your numbers. Creating bundles, doing liquidations, books, whatever. You still got to know your numbers. What is the volume that I have to pass, or what's the amount that I have to list in order to get to the number that I'm trying to get to? Now, your work schedule. I am put it into paper. I'm a nerd. So visual representation of what a real schedule would look like in order for you to leave your 9 to 5. If you're going to leave your 9 to 5, a couple of things that I recommend. Once you get to a place where you know your numbers and you know how much volume, how much you have to spend. If you know that every single week from a sourcing standpoint, I've got to spend $2,000 in order to make $10,000, whatever the number is, you know your number. I don't know your number, but you got to get to a place where you know your number. When you figure out what your number is that you have to spend consistently every single week, sourcing the right products every single week, making sure they get listed every single week. And if you're going to do Amazon, fine. If you're not going to do Amazon, then of course, you're going to have some other methods to get you some traffic on your listings, whether you're listing on eBay and or Walmart or I don't know, Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, Poshmark, Google Shopping, Shopify, wherever you're listing, wherever your products are going to be listed. Again, figure out what is the bandwidth that you have available to you. And then once you figure out your bandwidth that you have available to you, then use that to your advantage to figure out how many people do I need to double me, or how much time do I need to double me? Because you can decide that you're going to work 10 hours a week or 15 hours or 20 hours a week in your business. And then you may hire 2 high schoolers to come in and do some side stuff. And if you're doing print on demand, like you may not need those high schoolers to physically come do anything. You can hire a virtual assistant to create designs and list those for you. How many designs do you need to put up? What are the keywords? So again, you got to get better at keyword research and product research in order to scale. And then reinvesting is 100% what I recommend for at least the first 6 months. If you're single, if you have a family, reinvesting for at least 9 months to a year before you pull the trigger, before you decide I'm going to get out of here. But you got to know what your numbers are, and you have to hit your targets or get really, really close to hitting your targets before you roll out and say, bye, adios, see you later, deuces, bye, Felicia. Before you do any of that, you got to go through and know what those numbers are. You got to know what your hours are, because as soon as you quit, now you're available to come back and work in your business. And if you have positioned yourself right with the right people, working the amount of hours that you need them doing key things, or either the low-hanging fruit things, then you'll be able to, you'll double yourself again because you're at home now. So just putting it out there.
Yeah, I want to make one other comment, Nicole. That was really good. I have a friend that lives in Washington State, and so for him to hire a high schooler, their minimum wage, I don't know exactly. It was like $17 an hour.
Mm,
Where over here in South Carolina, it's like $7 an hour, 7.50 or something as minimum wage. And so you really need to think about your location, and also in that case, it would be better to even use, like a third party warehouse like Pauline in Canada. It would be cheaper than $17 an hour, I'm pretty sure, right?
yeah.
So just think of things like that when you are looking to scale. And then the other thing is just work really, really hard and retire your spouse or significant other so that they can work in your business. That's what I did. And
Yes.
well, he doesn't work in e-commerce, but I retired my husband in 2016, and so life is good.
Yeah. All right. So if you have any other questions, type them in the comments. We love your questions. We would love to be able to comment on your questions. So all you need to do is just type them in the comments, and let us know what you want us to talk about, what questions you have. We're 26 minutes in, so we're only going to be here for probably another 20 to 25 minutes. So if you've got questions, let's say you've been wanting to know something, you've been wanting to ask something, maybe you've got a coach or a mentor and they're not answering your question, or you're in somebody's training program and you want a direct answer. This is your opportunity to get a direct answer. This is something I wish I had when I first started in this business, actually having access to somebody that can answer your question directly. So if you want a direct answer to something, then make sure that you type it in the comments because we want to answer. All right. So we have another question from Mr. Vincent. I think, hold on, I'm trying to click. I love this tool. I'm being sarcastic when I say that. Okay. So can you comment on minimizing cost of shipping, carrier services, duty taxes outside of lower weight and smaller dimensions? So this is around shipping, minimizing your shipping costs.
Is it private label or?
Go ahead.
Is this private label or is this?
Are you doing retail arbitrage, Vincent? What are you doing? What are you doing? Retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, drop shipping, private label. What are you doing? Oh, I'm looking for the answer. I don't see it yet. Okay, so I don't.
I mean, given that he has duties. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
He just answered. He said yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess he's doing. Are you doing retail arbitrage? Retail arbitrage. Okay. So
definitely on the duties and taxes. It sounds like you're importing. Vincent, I have to assume you're U.S. based until you correct me, and that you're importing from outside of the United States into U.S. to sell. If you have another scenario, such as you're importing into Canada from suppliers in the U.S. or elsewhere in the world, I'm also equipped to answer that. In terms of minimizing the cost to market, Canadian importing from Hong Kong electronics. Got it, Vincent. Excuse me. One of the best ways to do that, Vincent, there's no way around this. I have to point you to our services because part of Canada Prep and Fulfillment is that we also make our connections available to our clients. So in this case, we are not, when you sign up with us and you register on our website, you have a 15-minute consultation appointment where you say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. We then point you to all the things that you need to do with the aim of minimizing the expense that you will incur to bring your products to market in Canada in this scenario. So if you, for example, like you're saying, selling to Americans, you could easily also bring your product into Canada from China, which China has a very favorable trade relationship with Canada. And Canada has a very, very favorable relationship with the United States. So there are means and ways to get your products into the United States from Canada. Say you want to import to Canada to sell on Amazon Canada, as well to sell the same products on Amazon United States. So you can import to Canada, pay the duties and taxes into Canada, and ensure like your like our broker, for example, would also show you the impact of the HS tariff codes that you're working with. So you're minimizing your duties. Maybe you need to have certain documentation that may present duty-free import. So you're paying only one of the taxes or one of the hits that Canada hits you with when you're bringing stuff in. But from your Canada to the United States transport, the United States has a means that would allow you to bring your products into the United States from Canada completely free of duties and taxes. And we'll talk about that if and when you book a consultation. So there's ways to minimize, but you also need to connect in terms of carriers. If your supplier, for example, your suppliers in China, if the freight companies they're connected with are not favorable, maybe you can shop around with some of the through some of the freight broker contacts we have that would find the cheapest way for your shipments to come, whether it's coming from the United States or coming from China or coming from Australia, wherever they may be coming from. But it is all about the relationships that you're establishing, or you're plugging into someone else's relationships, and that someone has high volume activity going on. So their relationships are giving them heavy discounts, and they're passing along those discounts to you since you're one of their clients, if that made sense. So there's means and ways from import-export standpoint to do business, even though you're not high volume, but plugging into the volume of another agent in the supply chain.
All right. Well, but since you were talking about Canada, I mean, I don't have anything significant I can contribute to this conversation because Pauline will be the queen of this conversation. But you know, I know that she's probably worked through what it's going to take if you're selling to Americans for that shipment to come across to the U.S. and giving you the best shipping rates on that as well, helping you to find the best shipping rates on that as well. So,
yeah, we have freight broker contacts in the United States as well as in Canada. So we definitely shop around. For our clients, we empower them so that they can shop around, find the best rates. We also will do research for you, if it comes down to it. But we definitely introduce you to the people that can help make your life so much easier and less expensive.
Yes, and Nicole, I'd like to add to that. If you're not importing, if you are importing, you could also ask your supplier, hey, can you vacuum pack this item? I know I just purchased on Prime Day some kitchen cushions for my kitchen chairs, and on Amazon they look beautiful and they were fluffy. They were vacuum packed like this big. And I opened them, and literally they only got that big, like only a little bit more. I'm like, this is not going to work for a cushion. But you could ask to vacuum pack. And really important, sometimes when whoever created a listing on Amazon, they didn't put the proper dimensions. And you can ask Amazon to go in and remeasure products, because sometimes they may be oversized products, or it may be listed on Amazon as oversized, and you see oversized in Inventory Lab, but it might only be, a little 4-inch product. So definitely check the dimensions, ask Amazon to measure for you, remeasure, and that may help with your the cost as well. And then also don't forget, if it's a small and light item, to enroll it in the small and light program, because so many people don't know to do that. And so they're just paying the regular higher FBA fee for the standard size, when you could enroll in small and light and pay a smaller fee.
There you go. Love the tip.
Mhm.
All right. So I hope that helps you, Mr. Vincent. He's talking about, do any of you have an experience with chargebacks, fraud selling on higher ticket items to avoid being scammed by buyers? So I know that there are certain products that probably are more susceptible to some extent to fraud. So I don't know. You said electronics. I don't know if I know exactly, okay. So I do sell electronics on rare occasions, but I don't sell them for the majority of what I do. And I don't do that for a few different reasons. One, I don't want to have to deal with returns, especially if they don't work. You run into challenges if something is not operating the way you expected, because again, you're getting your inventory from whoever, and you're not opening and testing it before you send it off to your customer. It's just getting sent off to your customer because you acquired it from your wholesale supplier, drop shipping, retail arbitrage, whatever. So you're not testing everything to make sure it works. So what I do is I am that person that is going to stay away from things that I know that there's a potential high return value. Now, I will sell the accessories to electronics, and that will yield you a lot of money because people do buy the accessories like crazy. So I may not sell the accessories all the time, but I will sell they may not sell the electronics all the time, but I may not, but I do sell the accessories all the time. So I think that is one way that I've been able to avoid, requesting returns and fraud and scam, because electronics can be that one area that you do run into some scammers. I don't know what else anyone else has to say about that.
As a seller, I too tend to stay away from some of the higher ticket items, just because, and I've heard some of the horror stories about some of the scams that go on by buyers. But as a buyer, I had my kids working in my business a lot. And so they would get on some of the platforms and see things that they wanted. And so they would, go try to buy stuff or whatever. And then they'd have all kinds of stuff going on. So one of my sons, he's 15 now. He might have been 9 or 10 at the time. He worked in my business. And this was, like I said, this was actually, I want to say it was a used item, something that hadn't been used, but I was selling it as a used item. And this got caught up. I think it was an eBay some time ago. But there are things that we go through as sellers where we learn the lesson and then we kind of move on from it. But in that particular case, and you didn't give a lot of detail about what type of fraud, but I had an item that my young son sold. He didn't take a ton of pictures. He didn't take any pictures of the inside of the item. So if you're doing something where you're actually importing it and sending it out from a prep and fulfillment center or something like that, this may not even be an option. But my suggestion would be that you have very, very detailed pictures and descriptions on everything it is that you sell. If you are using a prep and fulfillment center, you might ask them to do that as well, because I can't remember exactly what the item was, but I think it was a small electronic, something like a radio or something. But the person said that when they got it, it was, crushed. It was the wrong, all kinds of stuff. And this was a buyer. Well, when they sent the picture back, it was not what we were selling. I didn't have any way to prove it because it was my young son that sold it, and he didn't take pictures of the inside, of the item. So just again, that's the only thing I have to add to that, because I do tend to stay away from it. But make sure that you have very detailed description so that, if it's a different model number that they try to say that they got, something that's already broken and they're trying to swap it out, something that's discontinued, that sort of thing. You have very detailed descriptions on what it is that you're actually shipping out. And if you're able to take pictures of the item, the actual item, before you ship it out, that might cut down on some of it.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Becky,
We've also.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead, Pauline.
This is Pauline. This is not. I'm not going to comment on fraud by buyers. I'm going to comment on theft by Amazon fulfillment center workers. And Vincent and anyone else that is sending high ticket items into Amazon FBA. This is definitely something that we do encourage our clients to do or ask us to do. If your items that you're sending into FBA are high ticket, before we seal your boxes, we'll take pictures of the inside of your FBA boxes showing that the quantity that was packed in the box. So we show the box at different stages of being filled to the point that it's filled. And then when we seal it, we take another picture of the box. We take a picture showing the box on a scale so it shows the weight of the box, because these are all things that you will need to fight with Amazon if a fulfillment center worker actually steals your product and they come back and tell you, okay, I know that you said you sent us 20, but we only found 6 in this box. Well, if the box weighed X amount of pounds and UPS validated that, you see it all in the UPS data, how does it get to you when all of a sudden the box is a third of the weight that I shipped, right? So you have leg to stand on. Now, I think to prevent a lot of that, and, Becky, Renata, Nicole, you can, chime in on this. I actually recommend to my clients, and I personally do this myself, above a certain price point, it's not going to FBA. Because I think there's so much theft that has been going on at the fulfillment centers, that I'd rather, like, if it's a high ticket item, from not just the theft standpoint, it's also the Amazon FBA fee is outrageous after a certain dollar amount. Like, there's no justification for the FBA fee being so much higher just because the price of the item is higher, right? So at that point, you want to maintain control of the item as long as possible. Then you can put all kinds of protection around it in the direct shipment that you're doing to that customer, through tracking, signatures, you're still doing pictures, all of that. So if you're really going high ticket, FBA is not always the best choice. Just my 2 cents. But you guys can,
No, I agree.
knock that down if you like.
Yeah, I agree. But I will let Becky respond because Becky was next in line. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, I do not sell high ticket. I'm all about the repeat sales month after month after month, people using my product. But if you're selling on another platform, let's say Facebook Marketplace, some red flags over there are the buyers will say, hey, can you give me your phone number? I need your phone number to complete this transaction. And they're very adamant about getting your personal phone number, or they're texting you from an Instagram account that has 0 followers and it's a new account. It's pretty much a red flag for a scammer. But however, there's going to be scammers everywhere. I just say, I'm from the South, bless your heart and move on, right? Bless your heart and move on.
Yeah. I agree with Becky in the fact that there are scammers everywhere. Even Walmart gets scammed, Target gets scammed, all the big box stores, they all get scammed. Even online, they get scammed, as much protections that they put in place. So again, if you found a niche and it's a profitable one, and you understand that because of the specific product that you're selling, maybe the margins are ridiculous enough and you're ready to take that higher risk, okay, this is going to be, I know that this product I'm selling is going to be a 20% risk, then that's what you've agreed to step into. And so as you continue to sell in that area, just document all your lessons learned so that you can, where you can, have mitigative measures in place to deal with the scamming and or the chargebacks, but you won't be in 100% control of it. Versus some of the stuff we sell, we may not, our scam and risk ratio might be 2% and yours might be 20. So you just have to be prepared for what you step into, what you've decided to embrace as a seller.
Right. And I'm not an accountant.
Add that to your margins and your numbers. But anyway, go ahead, Becky. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm not an accountant, but definitely talk to your CPA and see what you can do there as well.
Yep. Add it to your numbers, your calculations.
Yep.
All right, so we have a question from Miss Christine. She said, how hard is it to get ungated in clothing and shoes, and if you are a new seller? So again, we're talking about Amazon. If you are not an Amazon seller, this does not apply to you. Ungating does not apply to non-Amazon sellers. If you're a non-Amazon seller, you can ask your questions.
Please do.
We don't have to spend all our time on our questions. Huh?
I said, please do. I'm sure there are some non-Amazon sellers out there that, even they may not think of the question, but if you have one, post it there and we'll be happy to address it.
All right. So I will let you guys start with the answer to this question. How hard is it to get ungated in clothing and shoes if you are a new seller?
Christine, if you are a new seller, I would not sell clothing and shoes. I would stay far, far away. And the reason is, think about this. We were just talking about scammers. Clothes and shoes have the highest return rate on Amazon. And or anywhere, think about go look at the returns at any of the stores and you'll see clothes and shoes as the most. And when you receive a piece of cloth or a shoe back at Amazon, they're going to say it's used. And sometimes people, actually, I personally know a guy that sold bridesmaids dresses on Amazon, made a killing. They all wore them to the wedding and did a return. And he quickly went out of business, right? So just think about that. But as far as ungating goes, if you're looking at like the big name brands like Nike and Under Armour and things like that, there are ungating services that you can pay god awful amounts of money to get ungated. But I personally would not in the beginning do that. That's just my feedback.
Yeah. And even with some of those services, a lot of them will offer you or, promise you pie in the sky. But as a brand new seller, Amazon is all about metrics. So they're going to want to see, authentication. They're going to want to know where you got it. They're going to want all of these things. So if you're starting out as a brand new seller, you're going to have an increased level of costs just to get that done. Where over here, we've been talking about keeping your costs low, reinvesting your profits and that sort of thing. So when you look at clothing and shoes, as Becky said, you're looking at really high return rates. One, because of sizing, trying to buy things online. Secondly, like I said, there's scammers out there that might buy it, wear it and send it back. And then if it comes back as used, you're dealing with a whole other process when you're dealing with Amazon. Now you've got used goods that you're either going to have to pay to get shipped back to you, or you have to relist them. You just run into a lot of different processes that as a new seller, you can make your life so much easier by selling some other things first.
Right. But with getting ungated, the way to get ungated in anything on Amazon is to buy a quantity of at least 10 directly from the manufacturer or a licensed distributor and get an invoice, not a receipt.
Absolutely.
I think it's a little bit different with categories. And I know we've done all kinds of ungating workshops on brands and that sort of thing. But with categories, sometimes even with Amazon, because they're always changing the game on us, but where it's been 10 of a specific item in the past or whatever, if you're going through a wholesaler to get clothing and you're likely going to end up with a lot more than 10 items just because of minimums. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind as well.
Yep. So Pauline, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to it before I chime in, or is she singing?
Oh, she was, but she stopped. In terms of the clothing and shoes, and I know I could get canceled for saying this. However, in my own business, I followed this rule I made up for myself after experiencing clothing, shoes, wearable products, and in this case, it was Amazon. But I think this is true everywhere, regardless of marketplace. When you first start selling in that category, if you choose to, I personally realized I needed to stay away from females. I only sold clothing and shoes to men and boys, because men and boys know their sizes, they know the color they want, they have few color choices, they know what those things are, they purchase those things. If it doesn't work out at home, they just shove it in the closet and figure out how to wear it and call it a day. Women, you know what the way we are. This is the wrong shade of purple for my skin tone. I'm going to return it, right? Oh, this makes my arms look too fat. I'm returning it. Like I couldn't do it, right? And how did I just through experience realized that I would have a tremendous amount of returns if I was dealing in female clothing or female products, accessories, underwear, garments, anything, outerwear, underwear, you name it. As soon as I switched to only focusing on men, night and day. And that was my experience. So if you do find the itches it's too much for you, and you definitely want to do clothing, shoes, etc. Maybe, and please don't cancel me. Maybe just start with boys and men, right? And see how that goes before you go to the very finicky population, which is us women and girls. We are finicky.
Right.
So yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I probably heard that said somewhere in the early years of my selling online, but I do sell, not on Amazon, but I do sell quite a few teeny tiny clothing items. And so babies don't complain about, what color something is and that sort of thing. So I have
exactly
some baby items, but I'm sure I heard that somewhere, because I never delved into clothing and shoes for women.
Yeah.
Another thing is there are some workshops out there that teach you how to wear bras, or not wear them, sorry, how to sell them. Yeah. And I mean, if you're part of the itty bitty titty committee or the over the shoulder folder, I mean, they have something for everybody, but there are so many returns. So I agree with Chloe.
It's terrible, especially with brassieres. Oh my goodness.
I can only imagine.
I mean, everybody's like, oh, it's so much money, and they're pushing carts of bras, and yeah, they'll be selling them on eBay for a while. So just be careful with clothes. It's my 8-year advice, 23-year e-commerce seller advice to you.
All right.
But there's a lot of money in it. But and I'm a risk taker, and I don't do it. But there are those that do.
Yeah.
And I'm right on Beth.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it either.
Yeah. And I'll say one more thing. And I have to say this because I'm Miss Canada, apparently. Sometimes we're so focused on the U.S. marketplace, and well, we should. The population is massive. Consumer market.
Oh, we lost her for a second.
Uh-oh.
We lost you for a second, Pauline.
I know I dropped a few times too, but my internet connection is just unstable for some reason. So
all right, well, she'll come back. So I was going to respond until she can talk over me, Pauline, when you come back. So my response is, I do sell clothes. I do. Now, here's my caveat. I do what Renata says, which is sell the little bitty kids. I'm doing the infants and toddlers. I am selling, I'm selling the little bitty booties for the newborns. I'm selling all small stuff because the return rates on those are low. I found that out early in my journey. The other thing is, if I do sell adult clothes, I'm selling oversized, plus size, 6X, 7X, 5X, because again, that's another target audience, and the chances of it being the wrong size are much slimmer than, this color does not go with my skin tone.
That's the wrong color of lavender. How many lavenders do you have?
Yeah. So that's my strategy, is I'm going after the little bitty kids. I'm going after, 6 and under or 7 and under, and all the way up to infants and newborns. And those will be the clothes that I sell. And I love to sell bundles because there's a lot of bundle opportunities with infants or multiples. And on multiple platforms, not just on Amazon. And then when it comes to clothes, again, the oversized, because I have yet, in the years that I've sold the oversized plus size, have had returns. Have yet in 6 years, 7 years. Yeah. So that's me. They are looking there's an audience out there for that, and they are underserved. And when you put stuff up that they like, they will buy. Mm-hmm. And they don't like to go to stores. So they are definitely online buyers, just so you know. So you're welcome for that piece of information.
So sorry about that. My phone gave up the ghost, so I had to switch to my other phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so my US phone was just overwhelmed, so it died, and then my Canada phone is still okay, so I've switched. But I've also plugged it in, so not to worry. Um, so okay, okay. Sorry, popsicle time. Hold on one moment. Continue the conversation, and we'll double back.
All right. So if you have any other questions, we got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We will answer your questions. If there is a burning question that you have as an e-commerce seller, you've been waiting for somebody to answer it, you've been holding on to it, you're curious, you've been selling for years and you want some insight from somebody, you haven't been selling for years, you're trying to figure out how to get into this game for Q4. I will say this, for Amazon sellers, I don't have the email from last year. If somebody wants to pull up their email from last year, like Amazon if you're going to sell on Amazon, Amazon has this like criteria. So new sellers, I think they have to have had their first sale by August the 1st. Being is that it is August the 2nd, you won't qualify for the holiday toy fulfillment window. I know what I'm trying to say. One of y'all knows what I'm trying to say.
Is that, that's only for FBM, right?
That's
for FBA, you're fine.
For toys, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't remember all the dates on the email, but I know that one of the dates is that you had to have had your first sale by August the 1st. Most of the time, they don't normally send out that email until after the fact. So it makes it kind of hard for you to go, oh, I needed to have had my first sale on August the 1st, and you sent the email out at the end of August. Oh, thanks for letting me know. So then the second thing is, there's going to be some ranges in which you have to have done enough merchant fulfilled. If this is all Amazon talk, this is not Walmart talk. This is not, any other eBay talk. This is just Amazon. So if this does not apply to you, then you can ignore what I'm saying. So all I want to encourage you to do is, if you are looking to do merchant fulfilled for toys, there is a holiday selling window, metrics that you have to meet. And you'll get an email from Amazon, but it's not going to come this week. It's not going to come next week. It's going to come in a few weeks. And so just be mindful of that. If you were a seller on Amazon that's a new seller, if you didn't get your first sale by August the 1st is normally the date, then you probably didn't already meet that criteria. So I just want you to know about that.
And it's funny that you said that, because I'm actually covering that in tomorrow's session. It's in the slides, but I don't think I mentioned the first date. I did mention all the other guidelines. Yeah. And I was looking for my email and I don't see it, but I know that you have to have, and it's, again, Amazon is finicky, so we can only go off of our past experience, but you've got to have 25 sales between August 15th and October 14th. So you, like Nicole said, there is a beginning date, and I don't think I put that in there, but I don't think it's August the 1st. I think it may be a little bit, you may still have a little bit of time to get that first item shipped, but.
Hold on, I'm looking for
I'm trying to find it too.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in my email, but.
I used to have it memorized because it was the same. It's been the same for 7 years and running. So anything else you want to add, Becky, before we jump off? Or Pauline, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Question that pops up. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just to close out that whole clothing and shoe area, one of the exceptions to what I said is an entirely different country, right? I think there's a pattern of tremendous product supply in the United States, because naturally the whole world wants to supply such a massive consumer market. But that also means that there are other countries in the world that are undersupplied. And Canada, the northern neighbor of the United States, is such a country where we're undersupplied in all the merchandise that is so readily available in the United States. And as Canadians, we see all of that stuff advertised because we consume US television, all the ads, marketing, all of that. So it just so happens that that area, clothing, shoes, is a high demanded area in Canada. Now, I have clients who do sell clothing and shoes and don't have a massive return rate on Amazon.ca and eBay when they're selling to Canadian consumers. I don't have a lot of Walmart Canada clients, but in the one that I had selling on Walmart Canada that was selling a clothing and shoe product, it was directed to children. So there weren't a lot of returns that were happening with that. There were some, but not a lot. So one caveat to all of what we said is shifting to a different country altogether.
Yeah.
I did find that email. I sent it over to Unico if you want to put it up anywhere, but it is September the 1st. I didn't think it was August. So you've got until September the 1st to get that first merchant fulfill item out, and it does not have to be in the toys and games category. And then after that, you've got some other guidelines. So be sure and tune in tomorrow because I do talk about.
It's your first sale. You have until the 1st. You have until September the 1st to get your first sale.
Right.
Yes.
Sell Jelly Bellies if you're approved in groceries because they sell really well. I might buy them. I don't know. I just love them.
And they sell at outrageous profits in Canada.
Yes, they do. Oh, I don't know
Yeah.
about Canada, but oh.
Yeah,
And-
like
yeah.
a bag of just the bag that you buy for like $2-3 at Walmart in the U.S. at Walmart on .ca, that doesn't sell for any less than $19.99.
Oh, that's so good.
The bigger bags sell upwards of $50-$60 depending on how large a bag of jelly beans they are. But
Yeah.
it's product that we don't have, flavors we don't have. So in Canada, people will pay the premium for it because they know it has to be imported to get to them. Whether it's a distributor that's importing it or it's just a third-party seller importing it, doesn't matter. They know it's not manufactured here. So they don't care. They're just, I want it.
They're like me. Like, I want Jelly Bellies.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to drive my dentist crazy.
Yes, I know. It's like I'm gonna make my dentist rich today. Okay. One thing that I'd like to say before we close is we're talking about online arbitrage, and I am going to speak tomorrow. And my topic is learn how to zag while everybody else is zigging during this Q4, and 7 other rules of e-commerce success. And one of the things that I hear a lot of people complain about are online arbitrage lead list. They'll buy an item from a lead list and they'll say, oh, the product tanked. And so if you watch my session tomorrow, I'm going to share with you how you can buy the item from the list, make sure it's not going to tank, and then do some rabbit trail digging from your lead list that you have.
Awesome.
All
We
right.
can't wait for that.
All right. So I really want to thank Pauline Prince for jumping on in the midst of it all and
Yes.
the singing in the background. We're waiting on the
And,
solo to pop out.
I know. I gave her a popsicle because that's the only option I had at this point.
It's like,
Because she was like, "Come relax, Mama." I was like, "Here's a popsicle."
I want to thank Becky Timms for also sitting in today and sharing her wisdom and her insight. And I'm always grateful for Renata Darden and everything that she does inside of eCom Sellers and for sharing her insight and wisdom. We're thankful for all of you who have registered and all of you that are watching. Please tune in tomorrow. I think we're talking about e-commerce business operations. I think it's tomorrow as far as the live Q&A panel. I think the attorney is sitting in along with Cindy Thompson, who wrote Profit First for e-commerce sellers. And I believe that Ashlyn Hayden Insurance is going to be sitting in as well. So that's going to be a very good live Q&A. If you got questions for the attorney, definitely bring them. But I'll confirm that he's actually going to be sitting in on that panel because I've asked him 3 times. He said he was. So we'll see. Things come up. All kinds of things come up. So thank you all for your time. It is so valuable. Thank you for registering for the summit. And I am so grateful for all the speakers. And we are going to say goodbye for now. Bye, y'all. Tune in for tomorrow's sessions. Don't miss Becky and Renata tomorrow. So share it out with a friend.
1 o'clock.
Yes.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye for now.